I was just saying, you learn your lesson after you drink alcohol and have a hangover, right? You're just like, oh, I'll never do that again. You don't necessarily say to yourself, I'm never going to drink again, ever. Because my body can't handle that. So I'm going to have to do all of this like alcohol restriction diets, and I'm going to have to focus on, and I have to learn about the detriments of alcohol, and I have to like know all of this stuff, right? You don't go into this hyper craziness.
No.
Yeah.
Well, I think people are, though, they're struggling to try and figure out what's real versus what the media is sharing with them. And especially do you remember when I first met you, I was totally of the belief that I was addicted to sugar. It was all the food's fault. You know, it's like heroin. It's not my fault. You know, I can't do anything about it. And then you start to realize that it's the paradigm you live in. It has nothing to do with the food.
Mm-hmm.
And I think people just don't, you know, they're on the other side. They don't get it. And they're grasping at straws to try and figure out what is wrong here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree. They're just completely unaware of where the impulses begin. They know the outcome. They know the outcome. Like, I struggle, I can't handle food, but they don't see that their complete isolation and restriction of those foods are what creates the impulses. They just think that the food is what creates the drive. They don't see that the complete isolation, fear, judgment, shame is what creates that hyper focus. Yeah. So
exactly.
Yeah, and we gave you that experience. You have the tangible, but you let yourself to go there. You actually opened yourself up to that experiment.
Yeah, and it's funny. One of the side effects of this experiment is, you know, when people believe, and I believed very strongly that until I was thin, I would have nothing to say. Like people wouldn't listen to me because I was heavy. And so I didn't really have any say in my life. I really believed that. And since I no longer believe that, like, your life starts to look very differently. And it was all about just how I look at myself now is just like I was thin. Do you know what I mean? Like, so I feel like I have the same rights I would if I were thin. And it's causing hell and havoc in my life. All good stuff, but it's like stuff that you put on hold. You said, well, when I'm thin, then I can do this. When my life will be perfect when this happens. And knowing that that's not going to happen, I'm happy with who I am right now. You start to address those things. So it's crazy because it opens up a Pandora's box. It really does. And it's empowering and it's terrifying all at the same time, you know?
Yeah, but the longer you're in this, because you've been doing this now over a month.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been a while. It's been almost 2 months?
Yeah, I think it's been a little over 2 months now.
So, when was the last time you binged?
Probably that first week.
Okay, so remember, I just want to say, prior to that, you were probably binging pretty intensely.
Oh, every week.
Every week. Would you say twice a week?
I would say every 4 days because I could only go without food for about 4 days.
Okay, and would you say that when you did binge, it was highly euphoric, out of control? It was like completely out of control. Like you.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I mean the way binging works is you feel great for a little while because you feel so empowered in this app, but then it's not like you can control it. So you do it till you feel like crap, till you feel bad and wrong, until like your life falls apart, and then you go back to.
But you're going to fix it the next day, right? I mean, the only reason why you're going through that, don't you agree, is because you actually have convinced yourself that you will never eat this food again.
Yes.
You cannot eat it.
Never have that again.
Yeah. Well, in that disease model, right, where this sugar is bad, it makes you eat it, you have to have abstinence.
Yeah.
Would you say, based on that might have been a big issue? That might have been why you were binging, because there was always abstinence afterwards.
Yeah. I mean, if someone told you that's how I felt, someone said you can never have cupcakes again. Oh my God, what's the only thing I wanted to do? I wanted to eat every cupcake I could possibly eat.
Well, especially if you had a bite, that meant you ruined the day, so you should eat them all. And then you have this, like, it's like you got to get them in. You're not even tasting them, right?
No.
Like the whole day, and then and it's very It feels out of control. But now that you've been out of it, do you see that you controlled the whole thing with your thoughts and your beliefs and this logic behind, I will abstain when it's over. I will never eat it again.
Yeah, no, I can totally see it's interesting because you do look at it a little more analytically because you have that distance.
Yes.
And you look at it and you, oh, yeah, I think given those circumstances, I would do it again. If I was thinking those exact same things, I totally get now why I did what I did. And
well, do you recall how logical the binge was? Like there were very specific decisions made. Yep. There were justifications, rationalizations. You argued for it. Then you did it. Then that initial freedom from shame and guilt. Then there's this, I've ruined it. I'm going to get fat. There's this very specific logic occurring during it, even though you feel out of control. The out of control part is just because you're not consciously aware of how you're doing it. Yeah. Once you're out of it, you've had 2 months out of it. When you look back and open it up, can you see that it is very logical? You're actually calculating the whole damn thing.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's scary because you're not only managing the binge itself, but you're managing your world around it. The people in your life, you know, your animals, your work, your this, that. I mean, everything gets managed very carefully. So it's not like it's an accident, and it's all very logically handled. It's not like someone walked around a room with food and said, okay, go at it.
Oh, totally. You know, when I was my worst, I was binging between 8 and 12 times a day. And for me, I could manage quite a bit. My entire day was centered at that point. I didn't have kids and I was going to college. I was married, but my whole life centered around not only the predetermined diet and restriction that I believed would keep me safe, but I knew I had, every time I binge, I knew I'd either have to exercise and I would make time for it. I would literally push everything aside to prioritize controlling and managing my binging and my purging and the ability to manage it. What happened for me is it became so big that I couldn't manage it. And that's when I realized I had a problem. So I would assume that you contacted me when you couldn't manage it anymore.
Yeah, well, I contacted you and I realized that HCG was making this worse for me, but I know that HCG was a great tool and I was using it as a diet and I shouldn't. Yeah. And I was like, this conversation is getting worse for me. I'm miserable. I've got to do something about this. And from watching your videos, even though honestly I didn't really get how it worked, no matter how many I listened to, I knew that it was like an escape door to try and alleviate the pain, and I would have done anything. You know,
when you said I'm going to work with Robin, wasn't there a moment of
yes,
damn,
oh god,
that shit. I'm going to just because you were probably anti what I was saying for quite some time.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? You were probably the thumbs down on every single video. Right?
I was the nutrition expert. I knew all about how addictive food was.
You know what? This is the thing. When people who are like you listening to this, tell me, you were listening to those people thinking they didn't know anything. They were just naive and listening to this woman who is going to ruin their lives.
Exactly.
Okay, I just want you to know that you are my typical client. There's a reason why you're crazy. It's because you have micromanaged. I wouldn't be surprised if you've got this nutritional certification. You've dieted so long, you know freaking everything. You've been on every forum. You know, you've read all of the books. You know everything about gluten.
Yeah.
And gut chemistry. And you know everything about candida and candida cleanses. And you know everything about apple cider vinegar. And you know everything about, you know, kombucha and all of this. You probably know everything.
I do. And here's the thing, I think, and I would venture to say people listening to this are in the same place. You do that because you're looking for a solution. Yeah. You really do. And it's like an obsessive compulsive disorder. The more information I know, the more I have to know because the answer's got to be here somewhere. And I swear that it was just this obsessive thing to go and find out all that I could just to fix it, just to not be miserable anymore.
How did it feel when someone said, "Oh, you're just addicted"?
Oh, huge relief.
I know, right? Yeah. Huge relief. It's out of my control. Like I'm just dealing with this must be what it feels like to be a narcotic addict. No. And now oh my God. Have you ever talked to a narcotic addict?
I haven't, but I'll bet you they're not at all like sugar addicts.
Oh my God, are you kidding me? No, it's totally different.
Yeah.
Like there's so much emotional baggage involved, and there's so much more complexity to it. It is not to say that sugar is addictive and to just isolate it in a vacuum like that is so naive.
Yeah.
It is way more complex.
It does a huge disservice to those people that are really fighting a heroin addiction.
Oh, for sure.
Because
for sure,
it's fair.
It's almost like, really, you're going to tell me that this is like that when it's really not? Because really, if you actually, based on your observation and difference, you have the experience with all that knowledge you had and the acceptance of the addiction model compared to what you've been able to experience with this approach. And do you have impulses to eat sugar?
Oh, yeah.
I'm talking like an addict.
Oh, God, no. Okay. It's not like that at all.
Agreed. It only occurs when you feel like you've been deprived and moralized and you can't have it. Then the impulses become much bigger, right?
They become a lot worse. But a lot of times, because what it's like for me now is, like last night I was at an event where they had cheesecake, right? And I had a bite of cheesecake, and that was it. That's all I needed.
Did you have that, like, because dairy and the sugar, and don't forget all that stuff that's in the graham cracker crust. Yeah. I mean,
the chemicals.
The chemicals make you eat it. I mean, and it's specifically made purposely to be addictive. And did your cravings go up?
No, not at all.
Okay, so you know what I find fascinating is how people say this is how it works. This is a narcotic. You eat it. It makes your cravings go up. So then you want more. And then you eat more and then your cravings go up. It's a vicious cycle.
No.
If only it was that easy. If only it was that elementary.
You know what? It would be a lot easier because you wouldn't have to do a lot of internal work, would you?
No, you don't have to do any internal work. No internal work you've done. You don't have to look at your beliefs. You'd never have to look at your beliefs ever about body image or about religion or about life. You don't even have to look at those because it's the sugar. Yeah. All you need to do is abstain and it always goes away.
Yeah. And that's why, Robin, by not working with you, those people that take HCG, they're going to be more screwed afterwards than they were before. And it's because it makes you thinner, which is great, but it doesn't address all the real issues. So you're going to be stumped and obsessed with keeping that image, and you can't.
No, then you're prone. Say that again.
Yeah.
Say that again.
I was saying you can't maintain that body image with the old mindset. It doesn't work, and you're gonna drive yourself crazy and make yourself have an eating disorder if you don't have one, or make it a lot worse.
You got it.
It's scary.
Yes, I would agree.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I've been monitoring people with this protocol for over 6 years now. How I did things the first 2 years, I'm very Simeon's. I still follow Simeon's. I'm a big fan. However, I don't follow his method. And I stopped following his method as I noticed that people started having these psychological issues. The obsessive scale weighing, the excessive use of the steak day in the after phase, excessive use of the apple day, doing the apple day 2 or 3 times a week sometimes. I started seeing all this and I'm like, you know what? This is totally based on my previous knowledge of eating disorders. Like this is mimicking bulimia. So I started to adjust, same protocol, different approach. And I started doing the hunger scale with it instead of calorie counting. I removed calorie counting at some point. I've learned through trial and error, and it is very clear to me that this protocol is very dangerous psychologically for people who are in the diet culture. But it's so attractive.
It is enticing beyond life itself. Oh my God.
Because you know what truly is the addiction It's the diet. It's the dieting. It's the promise of this thin body. That,
the body.
That is ultimately the addiction. And that's what you're still struggling with. The food part, not an issue.
Oh, that's the...
Your issue is this allure of that image, the allure of the promise of that power. That, can you see now, is really the root of the problem. That your food issues are a consequence. Like this obsession over food, the food addiction that you used to think you had, that was completely dependent on your image problem.
Yeah.
So so you can see that as soon as you stop having pressure to lose weight, as soon as you stop imposing all of this extremism with food, your issues with food, they go away, right? But now there's this allure still that occurs, this promise, and that should be going away.
Yeah, that's where I'm focusing now. Is, you know, it's funny because you just notice when you're out and about, just trying to enjoy your life. Like, this is the body I have. I'm going to make this, you know, I'm going to buy the clothes and do the, you know, and make this exactly what I've always wanted. And it's hard out there. There's not as much support as you would like at my size. You know,
with your circle, it's not. You just have to know if you were in a totally different circle, it may be different. It might be a lot easier for you, but you've got to learn to do it in the environment you're in. We can't expect everybody to change so that you can figure this out. You've got to allow yourself to be criticized based on their system and detach from it.
Yeah. Because
that's the reality you live in. I want to go quickly back to this HCG thing, because I think my point, I kind of went around and lost focus, but my point is, over 6 years and watching, I'm in the thousands of protocols.
Mm-hmm.
The more someone restricts after the protocol, the more often I see eating disorders occur.
Really? Okay.
Well, that should make sense to you.
And it does. And God, no, that makes sense.
No, it gets bad. But binge eating gets really bad. I rarely see anorexia, right? I've yet to see that caused from the protocol. Partly because we're dealing with functioning adults. We're not dealing with kids that don't have their frontal cortex developed. You're fully developed and you're in reality. So it's very difficult to starve yourself to death. More often I see is this: you go into starvation. I'm going to stop this protocol and I'm going to continue to eat the same way that Dr. Simeon says. I'm not going to add the fats, right? So what happens? You see the predictability in the binging of that. I'm going to eliminate all sugar, starch, and gluten when this is over. Within 2 months, these people are back. I want to do the protocol again, right? Because they attached to the 120 pounds or 110 pounds, right? Or 102. They micromanage the scale. So the sensitivity to gaining, it is a form of anorexia. The sensitivity to going into orthorexia, once you've attained the ideal and you attach to this fear of food, which is way worse after a protocol, right?
Yeah.
The psychological winding, it just winds super tight. The more you wind tight, the more you're going to unwind, right? If you believe that winding yourself up super tight is where you're safe, don't be surprised when you completely unwind.
Yeah.
Right? So the HCG protocol, very, very dangerous. If you don't have...
Well, and if you're using it
as a diet, as a form of value.
Right. Because the one thing that is so true about HCG is it's something that's going to internally address issues that you have. And it's like, you can do it as a one-time deal or not, versus the diet industry. I mean, how many times do they say, well, I'm on a diet now and I'll be on one right before January or right before this. And it's something that we've trained ourselves in that industry to do ongoingly, you know, throughout the year. And HCG is not like that. You know, HCG is not something you can use, and all of us that don't understand that have used it for that. And that's not what it was designed for. No. You know, it's not like something I should do twice a year, you know, to help out with the binging and the weight that I gained over, you know, the holidays.
No.
You know?
No, it's not. Well, it's kind of extreme.
Yeah.
Like you have to really look from afar. Remove all of the, I am such a huge fan. I am a huge fan of the HCG protocol. I freaking wrote a book about it. I published all my findings. I did all of that data. I'm a big fan. But if you pull out from afar and you look at it psychologically, from an eating disorder perspective, binge eating disorder, orthorexic perspective, it is so freaking dangerous because you're eliminating a ton of food. You're completely isolating yourself from reality. You're giving this body, it's starting to lose a significant amount of body fat. If you attach to it psychologically as I'm better, I'm safe, I'm better, and those numbers, right?
Yeah.
And then it is a vicious cycle. How many people do you know who've done the HCG protocol who abuse it?
Oh, every one of them.
It becomes.
It's an out. It's, unless you're using it correctly, you use it as an out on, I can binge now because I have this.
Well, I've ruined it. I'm gaining already. I might as well do this more because I'm going to do another round.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I don't know if it's an excuse so much to be like, sweet, I can binge my brains out because I can always fix the damages. I think it's more the fear I don't want to regain. You go into diet mentality, right? Which ultimately increases these making huge impulses to eat that are real, right? You feel bad about it. You judge yourself. You feel like you're a failure. So then you're like, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to go ahead and give myself like the next 2 months.
Yeah.
Do you see how then I think it's, I don't know. I rarely see people saying, I'm going to eat because I can do HCG right off the bat.
Yeah.
Do you see how it kind of is more like I have failed. I have to fix it. Screw it. I might as well give myself this freedom before I do it again.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make any sense?
No, that's exactly it.
Yeah. I rarely see someone who's actually ultra gluttonous and they like it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no. Oh my gosh. I know, just the thought of, having to do, the loading days breaks me out in hives now,
because it's awful.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, but it is an amazing tool. I mean, there's nothing like it. And I would never do anything else. I mean, if I was still in the whole diet culture thing, there's nothing else but HCG out there. That's it. That's the only thing that I would ever gravitate toward.
And there is truth to that. There is, because your brain, you're dealing with your brain's desire to survive, and the more you starve, what happens when you don't have that the trickery of starvation with HCG is you are literally starving. But what most people don't see is that if you continue to limit food choice, limit food quantity, that you perceive anorexia is the normal way to live, your body still is in starvation when you get out of it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's scary, and that's why I'm so glad that I found you, because it's just the way that I was thinking about food is so incredibly unhealthy, and now I have so much freedom behind it.
I know. It just is. Isn't it complicated?
It is, and I never realized that.
I know it's.
When diet does make it look easy.
When you used to hear me talk, when you were like anti-Robin, did you used to think, "Oh, it's not that easy. This isn't as simple as she's making it sound."
Oh God! When you were saying it was like a light switch, I'm like, yeah, right. Maybe a big ass light switch. One that, like, I don't know, I'm gonna need 5,000 people to pick up and pick down.
This isn't as easy as you think it is, Robin. This isn't as easy, right? Now that you're in it, aren't you like, oh my God? Well, it is simple, but this is so complex.
Yeah, it's very simple.
From this point of view, from this vantage point, it's like, oh, it's not as easy as the sugar and the gluten. You think that's how easy that is?
Oh
this is far more complex because we're dealing with the human psyche. That's freaking nuts.
Yeah. If I could get out of my way, do you know what I mean? If we could get out of our way, we'd handle this so much easier.
Well, that's why I always say, if you were in a coma, this would be so easy.
Wouldn't it though? Oh my God. That is so true. Not that I'm wishing for a coma, mind you, but...
But you're conscious and you have beliefs and you got to work around your beliefs and your body's got to accommodate to your beliefs. Your body's got to adjust to what you're forcing it to do.
Yeah.
Because you think that liver cleanse is cleansing the liver, but you don't realize that you're actually suppressing the thyroid at the same time, stressing the adrenals at the same time, and you wonder why you have adrenal fatigue and thyroid problems, but your liver, it's cleansed.
Exactly.
Oh my goodness.
So part of me is starting to get excited about doing the HCG from the standpoint of, your cells regenerate every 7 years. And it's kind of like that exciting thing of, God, well, we got to get on this. Let's fix everything inside, because seriously, we need to give it a clear landing pad for it to, and then my mind starts going there. And before you know it, it's back in the whole diet industry thing where you're like, well, and then it'll have the tools so that way it can lose weight and it'll be, oh, good Lord.
I know, right? Yeah. That's the conditioning. That's the brainwashing.
Yeah.
That's not you speaking. You have to know that is not you speaking. Your brain is spitting out is what you've been taught.
Yeah.
So, you will be ready when you don't really need it.
Yeah.
You'll know what I'm saying when you get there. When you don't give a shit. When you're just like, I don't need to lose weight. My body's healthy. It's totally healthy. I don't have to do this. In fact, I don't need to do it. So if I only lose 2 pounds, if I do it, it will be in the hope, because we really don't understand it. We really don't know. It's in the hope that the body can readjust itself to something that is more efficient for its work. Because it's working now, it just may not be as efficient. Once you do the protocol, maybe it'll be easier for it to do it. To keep you alive, maybe it'll be easier. So it's not as hard on the body to do it. Do you see that perspective? Yeah. That's the goal.
Absolutely.
The goal isn't to get your husband's love, for your kids to be proud of you. The goal isn't because you want to feel better about yourself. The goal isn't to be healthier. That's the body's job. That's the body's dictation. The body knows far, far, far more about what that requires than any human being alive. So it's a very different approach. It's not about weight. It's not about you. And so you've got to get to a position where you really don't need it. You are secure with your husband. You know your kids love you. You've got to get there.
Yeah.
To where losing weight isn't going to improve this environment.
Yeah.
Do you understand that?
I do. And what helped a lot was the last video that you had done with that lady, where she was like,
oh, we were done with our sessions.
Yeah. And then you started explaining why she might want to do it. And she's like, oh, okay. You could totally get that it was coming from a different perspective, a different frame of mind for her, and how it would be really healthy now. And that was exciting to see. That was exciting to see.
Yeah, well, and that's, as I work with people, some people don't want to do the protocol ever again. And to me, that is like, they know themselves. It's like saying, I can't weigh myself right now, Robin. It's too intense. I still have attachments to it. Some people know I will never do this again because it makes me too sensitive to all of it, right? Yeah. They have to work on this. They have to continue to unravel some of these relationships with food. The perception of being deprived is too sensitive to them. Like if I feel like I'm being deprived, I immediately go into punishment, feeling resentment, like they have major issues. Those are mostly binge eaters, right? Anyways, the anorexic eater is different. For you, it's like, yes, the control.
Yeah, exactly.
The tiny little box that I like.
Yeah.
And I'll start doing my hair again, and I'll start dressing nicely again. That little box. Yeah. No, for reals. It's we've got to get to where you just don't care. Like I could wave my wand and go bling, 20 pounds less, and you'd be like, It doesn't do any damn thing. I'm not on a pedestal.
Yeah. I'm not there yet. I'm working on it.
Yeah, when you're there, and it doesn't take much. You just have to really treat yourself and love yourself the way you should. When you said to me, I am allowing myself the freedom that I always reserved for when I was thin. That's the beginning. You're doing it. What happens is the conditions are unraveling. It's like, I am a worthy human being. Like, I'm worthy of taking care of myself. I'm worthy of wearing something nice today, even though I'm not thin. I'm worthy of going out on a date. I'm worthy of being sexy. I'm worthy of all of this stuff. I don't have to lose weight. And the more access you give to the freedom to just live, the less likely you are to hold yourself to some weird condition to where you could say, okay, well, if I lose weight, does that change anything? Would I feel the need to defend myself? So you're getting there. Trust me.
Yeah.
You will
and it
know.
Feels like it.
You will know when you're ready. And if you don't know, I will know, and I'll be like, you're sounding different. There's certain things like I don't know what it is. Like, I can tell if someone's not ready. I think it's because I've observed enough to where I'm like, if I can just listen to what you're saying and go, oh, you need to wait.
Yeah.
Like, as soon as you start planning, when you say, I'm going to do it between this time, it's like, hold on. No, you're not ready.
Yeah, no.
Don't do it.
Get that.
Don't do it. If you're already planning, it's not good. It's got to be something that you can do no matter what environment you're in, for the most part. For the most part, to where you can make adjustments. It's like saying, you have cancer. When will chemo work for your schedule?
Yeah. That's a good analogy. That really is.
Yeah, it's like if your health was important to you, if it's really about health, does it matter?
No, you should do it whenever you're ready.
Yeah, I had a client who was gonna get married, and at first she was like, I can't even touch it right now. I've freaking used it, abused it so much, similar to you and everybody else that I work with. And she was going to get married, and she just got to this point. She's like, it doesn't even matter when I do it. Why am I even waiting? Fuck it. She's like, I'm doing it. And I don't need to go for 6 weeks. I'll just do it 3 weeks. It doesn't matter to me. She just had a moment where she was like, what am I doing? All of this planning, she could see it all of a sudden. Like, oh my God. I'm putting it around where I feel emotionally stronger. I'm giving myself lenience to binge before my wedding. She just was like, oh my God, she could see it very clearly. And that's kind of how it happens. It's like, I didn't even care how much I lose. It doesn't matter to me. The big draw for her, she had polycystic ovarian syndrome, is she just wanted to be able to get pregnant.
Yeah.
So do you see how all of a sudden she was like, hold on. Why am I waiting? This isn't about food. It isn't about my celebration with my wedding. This is about my ability to get pregnant. What am I waiting for?
Yeah.
Do you see the difference?
I do, absolutely.
And it didn't matter how much she weighs. It was far more about this issue with testosterone and estrogen and everything that was off balance, because she was a sugar binger for like 20 years.
Yeah.
Because she was dieting for 20 years, Anyways, so you will have a moment where you're like, honestly, I could give a shit about the weight. When you can get on the scale and be like, whoop-de-doo, nothing's changing. I don't need to fix anything. I am not a piece of shit. That number has absolutely no attachment to it. Then you'll realize like, oh, like I can do that. And if it's truly about health, there's no pressure. Yeah. I don't need to weigh. I can eat to hunger. There's no fear if I need more to eat more on the protocol. If I need less, I will eat less. And I will do between 3 and 6, maybe 8 weeks if I feel like it. There's no pressure. It's not about me. If I do it, it's about the body and the hope that maybe if it needs improvement, it will fix it. I'm not going to sit here and tell it what it has to do to make it worth it to me to not eat.
Yeah.
Do you understand that what I just said? I don't need to sit here and tell the body what it has to do so that I feel validated for not eating for it to heal itself. Like you're sacrificing something. No, it's like, when are you capable of eating relative to the protocol without needing some reward or entitlement to a reward. To where the reward is that the body might heal something. Whatever it is, I'm going to let it heal it, and I'm not going to tell it what it has to accomplish for this to be worth it for me.
Yeah. No, that's brilliant.
Did you get a light bulb with that?
I totally did.
This is like, I have cancer, I'm going to have chemotherapy, and I'm not going to sit here and tell the body and demand it to do what it needs to do while I sit here. You know, you just hope and pray, and you just trust that the body has got these amazing built-in systems. You're not going to sit here and tell it, you need to do this and this to make this worth it for me.
Yeah. Isn't that funny? Because there's certain circumstances where we do put our trust over to our body. And then yet on a day-to-day basis, we don't.
When it comes to food and body image, of course not. It's very ego-driven. And the whole thing is full of ego and pride and self-righteousness. How can you have a healthy relationship with the body when the whole thing is based around fear, pride, and ego?
Yeah.
You have to remove all of it. You have to kind of take your spirit, totally separate it from the body. The body has a function for you here. But spiritually, it's not the body's job to make you feel good about yourself. You know, you have to completely release the body from that role.
Well, I'm definitely going to just trust in the system because, as I said when I was watching videos, I could not possibly see how it was going to be on the other side. I didn't know how the heck that was going to happen, but I knew I had to do it. And it happened just like that, just like a switch. So this I know too, this will happen. You know, and I just need to just move forward and just trust in that it will happen.
Yes. Trust that. Trust the integrity of that. You know what I'm saying? Trust the integrity of what I just said to you, to where you can completely, unconditionally appreciate your body. All of it. Every single thing. The fact that it has gained this body fat because of what you've done is honestly, it's amazing. That is a survival mechanism. It is hardwired, God-given. That's why the human species has lived over thousands and thousands of years through deprivation, through famine, and through abundance. It has this ability in the state of abundance to live and to thrive. And it's got these built-in systems that are capable of surviving in famine. How it works in famine is very much more intense than it does in abundance. You've been living in famine.
I have been. And you know, there's so much more grace that I've been giving my body, knowing that it did exactly what it was supposed to do.
Yeah. If you go into a famine state of mind with shame, guilt, and moralizing, what is the body supposed to do?
It works.
Your body doesn't know, oh, this is morally righteous. I should just be thin because that's the right thing to do. No, it says we need to survive. We've got these mechanisms in place. This is a famine. We have very little variety in food. All we're getting is lettuce, you know, and kale.
Yeah. Hold on to everything. Don't let it go.
And then you're like, I'm addicted to food.
Yeah. No, my body works really well. That's what this means.
That's what I'm trying to tell you. I'm like, people come in front of me and they're like, I'm so unhealthy. I'm like, no. Actually, you're super healthy. This is crazy health is what this is. This is health on a super blown up level. You just don't see the psychology behind how unhealthy your thoughts are. So anyways.
Brilliant. Thank you.
You're welcome. I think too, you have to be ready. You know what I'm saying? Like you had to get to a place where you could see that your own beliefs that you were holding so tightly to might have been the cause of the problem, to where you were willing to test them with an open mind. It's like when I have a vegan or vegetarian who has lived for years moralizing meat, moralizing eating another animal. And for once them saying, I'm craving this, I shouldn't feel bad about those cravings, and then to eat it without feeling ashamed. Yeah. That's kind of like what you've just done.
Yeah. No, that does feel like that would be very similar.
And that's hard to do. Because you have to put your pride and ego away. You have to take all of that moral and go, wow. Oh, I was wrong. There is a point of diminishing returns in everything. Right? So even so, it's like when I say you should be able to eat these foods freely, there's a point of diminishing returns with that too. Right? It's like I tell people, give yourself grace and everything, and from there you self-navigate. So I'm not sitting here. So if someone says, I just don't feel good eating those foods, then don't eat them. But don't moralize it, because you're not a morally better person not eating those foods. That's where the problems occur, right? So I'm not going to.
Yes, true.
I have children. I've got to get them to learn that sugar is toxic if you eat too much. See how there's a relative too much to that? I've got to be able to teach them this stuff without them feeling like I'm judging them, without them feeling like they can't have it. They have to hide from me. Right? So it's like my job and what I'm doing is I'm taking people who are dealing with the extremes, and I have to teach you how to get out of the extreme, right? Someone in the center would listen to me and go, oh my God, she's an extremist.
True. No, I could get that. Yeah.
I'm totally aware of that.
Yeah.
But it's because I'm working with an extremist. I have to go the opposing extreme, and you've got to learn the worst case scenario of your beliefs. And then you will naturally come to the center. Yeah.
Gravitate to the center. That makes sense. Yeah.
And that's where it's like what I say isn't going to be appropriate, and it's not going to make sense to someone who is cognitively centered.
Yeah.
They're going to go, wow, I mean, sugar's bad for you. And I'm going to go, hello, I know that. But this person is taking it to the extreme. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. We're taking baby steps. We're just doing baby steps. We gotta like work with what we got.
I've got to get you to just have a bite.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, and not check yourself into the hospital.
Yes, and feel like my liver is gonna explode.
Yes.
My pancreas is dead now. I have type 2 diabetes eating that one piece of cake.
Oh my.
Well, I think too that, it's like oftentimes I hear, like I have a really good friend whose husband just had a widowmaker heart attack.
Oh.
You know what a widowmaker is? It's like the ones that just you're dead, right?
Yeah.
The initial reaction is to completely change everything, right? And that everybody should be completely changing everything as if we all are going to have a widowmaker heart attack.
Yeah.
Like, oh, my uncle just passed away. This is true story. My uncle Cliff, love him. He had type 2 diabetes. My grandma had type 2 diabetes. Type 2 diabetes is obviously genetically a sensitivity in my family, in my gene pool. And because of that, am I telling my kids they can't eat sugar? They have to watch their carb intake. They need to be careful because, diabetes kills.
I hope not.
I know, right? Now the downside to that.
I know that now.
It's like, well, they don't have type 2 diabetes, so if I treat them as if they do, and I treat them as if they're about to die from it, what do you think is going to happen psychologically?
Oh, they're going to get it and they're going to die from it.
Yes, they are. Because they're going to start hiding their candy. Yep. They're going to start hiding their food. They're going to start binging on sugar. And what am I doing? Self-fulfilling prophecy. This is very similar as well to my grandpa died of liver complications from alcoholism. Right? Addiction is in my family. We have to be very careful with addiction. So I have to tell my kids how bad and shame, like you can't eat this stuff. If you touch it, you could and what's that going to do? As soon as my child has alcohol, right, because I'm fear-mongering it, because we have addiction in my family, and my grandpa died of liver complications because he was an alcoholic, right?
Yeah.
And I treat my kids like they're an alcoholic.
Yeah.
That's essentially what's happening. I'm treating you like you're an alcoholic. And how do you think my kids feel when they want to experiment with alcohol? Like they have to hide it.
Yeah.
it becomes that same justification, rational, then the pattern begins. And what do you get? Similar to, I'm obese and I don't want my kids to have the same issue, so I'm going to have my 13-year-old go with me to Weight Watchers so that she works on it.
That just gives me the EBGBs.
Well, I mean, but the intention.
But it is.
What's the difference between that and we have addiction, so I have to do this with my children? They need to know. They have to, and I start teaching them you have an issue. I've heard that so many times. There's addiction in my family, and I can see she has addictive personality. I'm like, hold on, you must be highly controlling her. Yeah. Because she's it's like the psychology behaviorally has to get looked at far more than this disease model. Because the disease model, as we know, isn't working.
Yeah.
It's actually not working at all. It's causing actually quite a bit more problems ultimately because there's no personal responsibility. The parents don't have to look at their parenting.
Yeah.
Or the social environment. If the parenting was fine, looking at the kid's social environment, like no one looks at how they react in a social environment. Anyways, oh my God, I'm seriously digressing once again. And I'm not sitting here pretending I know it all, but I do know this about food and I do know it about religion. And I'm very clearly aware of how impulses work, at least with food and dieting. Yeah. And I see it with other narcotics.
Yeah.
I have a lot of compassion for it.
I'm on board. So anyway. I am.
Okay. So you know what? I'm not sure. What I'm going to put out there is this. I believe you need to spend the next, let's talk in 3 weeks or so. Let's talk in 3 to 4 weeks. And I want you to focus on living life as if you have the perfect body right now.
Okay.
Like you're there. Pretend like you just did your round of the protocol and you are there, honey. You're on that pedestal.
Okay, good.
Would you put yourself on a pedestal again, knowing the ramifications of that?
If I had to step on that scale, yeah.
Okay.
That's where
Pretend like you don't.
I'm not going to do that.
Pretend like you have what you could be on a pedestal and you're going to keep it humbly secret.
Perfect.
Like you are thin and you had that power and you're going to choose not to use it. Someone says, well, you can get on the pedestal and you're going to go, you know what? I don't need to.
Yeah.
I'm
happy just the way
Yeah. And I'm no different now than I was. Add 50 pounds to my body. I'm just as awesome. I don't need to get on a pedestal.
I can do that.
Okay. That's the goal. Because if you can do that, then you don't need to lose weight. Then you're going to get what you need to be like, wow, I wish other people could feel this inside themselves.
Yeah.
That type of worth that is so completely detached from any gain culturally. Yeah. Like you could win $1 million. Does that make you pretend like you're better than other people? If you won $30 million, would you all of a sudden put yourself on a pedestal and start becoming, holier than thou because you have all this money?
I would hope not.
Would you want to tell everybody, and would you want to buy the nicest cars and get a bigger house, and would you want to start that?
I wouldn't, but I know a lot of people do.
Okay,
you know what
so
I mean?
This is the same thing. So if you're given that thin body, would you put yourself on a pedestal and pretend like you're holier than thou? Self-righteousness. So it's like, let's give you, in your mind, give yourself the best of the best. And what would it take for you to not be, or not put yourself in a position to where you are feeling righteous about it? Like better than about it? What would it take for you to be thin and not want to tell everybody and show everybody and take your selfies and put on that thin outfit and be like, look at me?
I don't know, because there's still that part of me that's like, well, that would be pretty awesome, man. You know what I mean?
Yes, I do. I actually do know what you mean. That's why I posed the question. Like, what would it take for you to be given the blessings from God of the thin world, and for you to be like, no, I don't even, no, I don't want you to. What would it take for someone to quietly donate their millions? without needing to have their name on a plaque, without having to have without having to have the center that they built named after them.
Yeah.
You know, what would it take to be quietly in humility?
I think that it would, yeah. It takes a huge amount of humanity, and I think that you have to, now that I'm thinking about it, at least with the weight thing, you have to acknowledge that it's not me that did it. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not.
Yes, it's not yours.
Right, it's not mine.
It's it's the body's. It's this body that did it, and you really didn't do anything.
No.
Like, it's not yours.
Because otherwise you're taking credit for something that's not yours, really. I mean, your body is just, there we go. Oh, look at that. Okay. Ta-da! Ding, 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 ding. Well, did you hear it?
Well, I heard it. I'm pretty sure they heard it. But when you are aware of it within your own mind, it's far more powerful. That's the truth. I can sit here and say this all the time. This is why when people watch the videos and they hear it and they hear it and they hear it, they read the book and they try it and they try it and they just don't quite.
Yes, right? That was me. They don't quite get it. They don't quite
get it. Takes a little bit of guidance because you have to change your framework. You have to change your language. You have to see it from a different angle. We've done this. We've talked enough. What is this, our 5th session?
Yeah.
Now you're starting to do it on your own. Ding, ding, ding. It's starting to crank on its own. You're seeing that. You saw that yourself. I may have guided you there. I may have said, here, look from this view. All of a sudden you're like, it's your awareness. You just got it. That's not me. That's the body's ability. That's not my pride. That's not me. Why am I taking credit for it?
Yeah.
The credit you get is your integrity, your kindness, this desire to give, this desire to be a part of something special and to be, and to, really integrity. That the body cannot give you that. There's plenty of thin, beautiful people who have very little integrity. Right? There's plenty of people who have a shit ton of money, but they hoard it.
Yeah.
Right? They would be totally fine watching someone starve to death and keep their food. Right? There's plenty of people who have abundance, but they live in poverty.
Yeah.
Right? So what I'm saying is if you were given that ideal body, you were given this beauty, you were given the power of that beauty that you could use. You could tell people, this is what I did, follow me. I'll tell you what to do. Right? You can be given that power because of that cultural accomplishment, and you're not going to take it. Because you don't want to be, you do not want that to define you. You don't want that to be what makes you valuable. You know, I could take pictures. I could take pictures. You want to see my body? You want to see it? I refuse. Why would I even do that? That's not my value. I'm not going to use it as my value.
No.
How many videos on here do I not wear makeup? I'm in my pajamas. I got my hair. I don't give a shit about what society thinks about the way I look. I'm not going to use my body to lure people in through that route. That integrity is extremely tiny.
Yeah.
I want people to listen to my message. I want people to listen to my words. I want people to understand my integrity. I'm only going to show the truth of who I am. I'm not going to be fake, right?
Right. Because it's the spirit that comes through, regardless of what the vehicle is that's holding it.
Thank you. I completely agree. And however, but if I use the vehicle, I'm now prone. I have to have a certain look every time I'm on the videos. Gotta have my hair done. I gotta, use a specific. It's very fake. It's not real, right? And it doesn't give me lenience to just be myself and let people naturally eliminate themselves. People who don't like cuss words aren't gonna like me. That's cool. I'm okay.
No,
I'm not gonna change it to get more likes, to get more followers, right? So you've got to be given that body, and you've got to be able to say, I don't even want to acknowledge it. Because if I acknowledge that as if it's mine, I'm prone now to have to keep it and to prove it and to show it, and that becomes where I'm valued.
Right. And that's not what that's and that's how it was when I did the HCG the first time around, and I was so successful. And that's the trap you can fall into then. And it's the rat race. That's exactly what happens. You get on the little wheel and you can't stop.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah. It's not healthy. Not healthy at all.
Okay. So that's your assignment for the next month. You are to live in that perfect body. And the funny thing is, someone out there would look at your body and go, oh my God, she has the body I want. I would do anything for her body. It's all relative, honey.
Enough.
So if you can say you are enough, correct, in the body you have right now, say this is good enough. And even if I was given the alternative, which is better, or given a worse alternative, could I separate me spiritually from culture's view of that body? How the culture defines that body. Can I separate spiritually from whatever anybody perceives it, whether it's good or bad?
Yeah.
You know, how culture defines the value of a body, you've got to be able to separate your truth from it, whether it's positive or negative. So if you're given that body that is better to someone else, to culture, or to your old beliefs, can you refuse it? You don't get it, but refuse to use it as a form of, look at me, I'm so much better.
Right. Yeah, no, that's good. Again, thank God we're taping this. That's all I can say.
Well, there's a lot. I don't know if I'm going to be able to post this whole thing. I think there's over an hour. I mean, how long have we been going? An hour and a half?
I don't know. You maybe can send it to me because really amazing. Absolutely amazing. You know?
My goal is to get you closer.
Yeah. And I just feel like I even remember the way I used to be. Do you know, like I can't even imagine going back there because this is so freeing that I want to be on the other side of what you're talking about. And I know that I just have to take the steps and I'll get there. I'm clear.
Honey, you're there. You just don't, I want you to just understand you're there. Because when you just said to me, there's no way I could go back, you've left.
Yeah, there's no way.
Yeah, this is when people say, oh, you know what? When you have an eating disorder, you will always battle that eating disorder.
No. That's not the truth.
Thank you. Because now you're aware. As soon as you have awareness and you change your conscious level, it's like, why would you go back to that? That's just, no. The only way you'd stay stuck is if you never leave the system.
Yeah.
So based on that system, if you don't question it, you're stuck forever.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm so excited.
Well, you're getting there. Trust me. So let's talk in a month. Unless you need to talk sooner. Unless you're struggling.
Okay.
Let's get that scheduled.